This is Curious Brain Thoughts.
Gluten Targ.
I'm laughing on the inside. Hello to you. Good day to you.
Me.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes, you're welcome.
Great.
Brilliant. How does this day find you, Paul?
Well, it greets me in the face.
With vibrancy.
With vibrant.
Vibrancy.
Yes. Yes,
Right.
it's very Technicolor.
Is it?
Very.
Rainbow.
Yes.
Good.
Great.
Amazing.
Which is super. And how dost thou find themselves dancing through this day?
Dancing. Good. I'd say more trotting / stumbling. But all is well.
A
Thank
trumble?
you. A trumble. All is well.
That's what I did there.
And it is. Good girl.
Oh, Dizzy's going to lick you in the face. Lick you in the face.
We've got all the dogs
all
in the
dogs
room,
we have.
plus a special guest.
We do have a special
A
guest.
very beautiful human.
A special guest. Would you mind, please, telling Listenerland who you are?
Hello, I am Noah.
Ah, the wonderful Noah.
Noah.
Now, I do believe, apart from appearing every week, because he recorded the theme tune, did the voiceover for the theme tune, thank you. I think you appeared the other week, maybe 3, 4, 5 or so episodes ago, because you come back from school. So, anyway, Noah, lovely. Thank you for joining us. How long are you going to be with us?
I'm not sure.
Okay, that's a great story.
Easy on the details, Noah.
Yeah.
So, you don't normally hang out with boomers after school. We do know that. We have invited / coerced you to enter into the recording studio for a specific reason, because you have a genius idea for today's episode. Please do tell Listenerland what that idea is.
Well, the theme is dogs.
Okay, and what made you curious about dogs?
Well, Dizzy came up to me, so dogs.
Amazing. Do you know what? I'm so overwhelmed. I'm not sure how to carry on.
Are you actually?
I'm so overwhelmed.
By what?
But the creative process.
Mm.
Dizzy came up to Noah and he thought we should talk about dogs.
Well, I don't see what your problem is.
I didn't say there was a problem.
You're being a bit pass-ag.
I'm not being pass-ag.
Just ag then. Just overtly ag.
Just pass.
So what we're saying is dogs. Noah, is there any part of dogs in particular that you're curious about?
Not really, no.
Do you love your dog?
Of course.
Do you love your dog more than some people?
Yes.
Okay.
That's fair enough.
That is fair. That's 100 fair. So maybe we start there.
Okay, fine. Are you wanting to exit?
Yes, he is. Yes.
Right, okay.
Go and do your homework.
Yeah,
about
go
dogs.
and do your homework.
About dogs.
Yes. Stop playing with the rugby ball. Actually, don't. It's fine. And do
Ow.
your homework.
Oh, thanks,
Okay.
Noah. Love
Thanks,
you.
Noah.
Bye,
Bye.
bye, 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 bye. So,
You've got a definition for dogs?
the dog is a domesticated descendant of the wolf,
Amazing.
also called the domestic dog. Okay, great. It was domesticated from an extinct population of wolves during the late Pleistocene. Easy for me to say.
The old plasticine
I mean, you're welcome for the pronunciation, everyone. Over 14,000 years ago, by hunter-gatherers, prior to the development of agriculture, the dog was the first species domesticated by humans.
Who?
So there has been a huge history of dogs and humans. That relationship is 14,000 years old.
Amazing. I just got a picture of the 3 dogs.
Dogs.
Doggies. No, they're moving now. Anyway, so we can just evidence the fact that we do have some dogs in the room. My dog likes to sit very close to me.
He does. It's true. It's
Yeah.
true. It's true. So dogs,
I don't think
man's
they'll
best
answer.
friend, a person's best friend.
Mm.
His master's voice.
Their master's voice.
Their master's voice. Dogs are just inherent. I think as Brits, we're seen as some other cultures as really soft on dogs. We, what's the word when you make an animal like a person?
Mm.
There's a specific word for that.
Yes,
What is it?
it escapes me.
Ugh. Anyway, you know, the dogs are on the furniture. They don't work. You know, so obviously people have working dogs, but the vast majority of dogs are pets these days. So they were domesticated, I'm sure, for their hunting and their all sorts of other capabilities, but now they are mostly pets.
Wow.
What?
So we anthropomorphize.
Anthropomorphize. Yeah,
Mm.
that's it.
Easy for me to say.
Do you know, it's funny, I had that word in my head, but I didn't trust myself that it was right.
Good.
So we anthropomorphize our animals. We
Yeah.
make them like, well, people. Noah likes some people less than he likes his dog, which is fair.
Mm-hmm.
They're members of our family. We love them deeply.
Yeah.
We care about them.
I'd say that's true for me, by the way. You know, I love some people less than I love my dog.
Yeah.
Which is only natural. Like, bump into a stranger in the supermarket or something.
Yeah.
I don't go, oh my God, I love you so much.
No, you don't.
Whereas I come home, in fact, I might have just literally been outside to put the bins out and come back again. So I've been gone a minute. And Roscoe greets me like, where have you been all my life?
It's the unconditional love.
Mm.
And they're vulnerable, of course, in the sense that we feed them, we care for them, they've bonded with us, we are part of their pack, and so they are very vulnerable. They're open, their hearts are completely open, and so if we mistreat them, then they will take it.
Yeah.
Up to a point, you know. So there's a real vulnerability in that, and I do believe, and I've believed this for a long time.
All dogs are therapy dogs.
All dogs are therapy dogs. Every single one, without exception. And you don't have to have bought it or own the dog for a therapeutic purpose, but nonetheless, they can't help it. That's who they are.
Yeah. I saw this lovely, lovely thing. It was this boy was asking his dad, why don't dogs live very long?
Mm-hmm.
Why do they, they're only here for 10, 14, 15, whatever years. And it was such a cool thing. I'm sure, I don't know whether it was made up or whatever. It was just lovely. The answer was because they already know how to love. And I was just like, do you know what? So much of our human experience is exploring what it means to love and how to express that, how to receive it, how to share.
Yeah.
And dogs have just nailed it.
They already know.
Which is pretty lovely.
Is that us anthropomorphizing dogs?
Well, yeah. I'd say so.
And?
Because their anatomy and their genetics and so forth defines how long they live.
Yes.
Just like elephants or which one is it? Turtles or tortoises, whichever them. There's massive ones, giant tortoises, turtleises. They can be like over 100 years old. So it is definitely anthropomorphizing the animal, and I thought it was just a lovely way to explain to a young child why they don't live so long.
And there's a really beautiful moment. I think it is in Homer's Odyssey. And Odysseus has been away for a long time, many years, eating cheese and doing other things. And I can't remember the name of his dog, but the dog recognizes him, even though he's so altered. And you see that. I've seen videos of it. You know, somebody's been away for a long period of time.
Like military personnel.
Yeah, or somebody's experienced a significant bout of ill health, which has meant that they haven't seen their animal for however long. And initially the animal is wary, but the bond, it's there. The dog knows. The dog cares about the person. You know, just when we were recording without the dogs in here, they were a lot more disruptive than they are when they're all in here. Because we are their people and they want to be with us. And that's a very beautiful thing, especially because for me, half of the time, so my son lives with me half the time and with his dad half the time, and that's a week on, week off thing. So I have a full week where I live by myself. So to have another heartbeat, now we've got two. We've got Diz, but and they don't necessarily even sit with you.
No.
They're pilling around, doing their thing, chewing, whatever they're doing. But to have another heartbeat in the house, for me, is a lovely, lovely thing.
Definitely. Yeah, definitely. I was thinking about how, you know, that bond, like, there's so many examples of where, like, someone has gotten poorly or died, and like the dog won't leave the bed or won't leave the grave. You know, it is really beautiful. I went through a period where, when I was younger, because we had family dogs, and I absolutely loved them to bits. And I remember when the first dog was riddled with cancer, and he was in too much pain, and he was put down. Did it at home because he was so scared of the vets. And I remember once he'd passed, I then scooped him up and carried him and put him in the car.
It's interesting. I remember that when he died, and Mum was full on grieving for that dog. I mean, it's not even, oh, it's an animal. I mean, it's full on. Like, a good friend of mine, her mum, she had 3 dogs, and within 6 months, 2 of those dogs had been put down. Both for very good reasons. Both for the dogs' welfare. You know, it's the right thing to do. But it's really, you know, it's a thing. It's a proper grief response. It's because you love them.
Because what I was noticing was how I love that dog so much, and then I got married and had kids. And what I found is that everything, like all living things, were then way down.
Right.
Like way down.
Yeah.
Because I'd experienced this colossal love when my children were born. It's just like, I've never felt anything this big in my life. And just very quickly, I remember with the first, like, wow, where has this come from? And then when the second was coming, I was afraid I wouldn't feel this as much.
Is there enough room in your heart?
Is there enough room?
Yeah.
It's like, oh my gosh, how can I love something else as much as the first one? And obviously, it's this enormously expansive thing, and I needn't have worried. And then it took many, many years before we then decided to get a dog. And it's actually nice because we had him So he's only 4. So, so Noah, who you just heard, he would have been 8 or 9. And so it's quite nice because as they're getting older and a lot more independent and don't want to hang around with mum and dad, there's a lovely dog who is always super happy to see you, which is nice.
And teenagers aren't always super happy to see you.
No.
Not always gassed about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really interesting because my experience of dogs
Of a
oh,
dog.
very good, England. My experience of dogs was different because my ex-husband and I had the dog before our son was born.
Right. Yeah.
So the dog was a few years old.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, I found that super reassuring. I've been able to care for this vulnerable animal, bring it from a really, tiny puppy, really dependent on everything, and support it and nurture it and train it and everything else. And when the baby was born, that there's all those things about the pack and the baby comes in and you shouldn't leave the dog alone.
Yeah.
I remember my ex-husband's granny had come to see the baby, and so I'd gone to make a cup of tea, and I left the room, and the dog, who was just lying on the floor somewhere, whatever, he very intentionally got up and sat in between Granny and the baby. And he was looking at her the whole time. Now, he loved her. He thought she was brilliant. And she loved him. But he was like, right, old lady, if you come for this baby, I'm just letting you know you've got to come through me. And it was so, and he helped. I don't know if he helped. I'm just saying, did he help, or was he just there and didn't complain? But Felix learned to walk by pulling himself up on the dog, as well as the furniture and other things that children use. But yeah, the dog was a practical support, as well as everything else. So it was the other way. And actually, after Jake died, he was 11, I think.
Was he?
Yeah. Yes, because he was about 11 when he died, and then, of course, the dog is a family decision, right? And so since then, I've had 3 dogs.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Crazy. It's interesting, right? So we've instinctively tuned into this type of relationship with dogs, and then you've got like working animals, not just sheepdogs. You've got those that are in public service, like with fire and rescue, with police, drug dogs,
Assistance
high
dogs.
as a kite, assistance dogs, and then like security or protection.
Yep.
Animal, it's like blimey, they are everywhere. And then like the assistance dogs are absolutely cray. Like sniffing when hold on a minute. Did you know a dog can sniff 1 part urine in 1,000,000 parts water?
No.
Which is insane.
That's
in the membrane.
Quite the nose.
That is quite the nose.
No wonder they want to sniff everything.
And so, can you imagine what their world is like? Because that must add like another dimension that, because I can't remember, they're monochromatic-ish with their eyesight.
Yeah, ish.
And that will just add another, like they'd be able to see, as it were, the scents that are going on. And I was just thinking about with the assistance dogs, like the ones that can smell when an epileptic fit is coming on,
It's
or
incredible.
those who have some narcolepsy. There are all sorts of things, undetectable, as it were, things of when an event is about to happen.
Yes, and the dog can sense
and the dog
it.
can alert them. I like hearing dogs and seeing dogs. I mean, it is incredible.
It really is incredible. It really is incredible. And it's just, and I know that people go, oh, are you a dog person or are you a cat person or whatever. Obviously we're dog people. And it's just that special relationship, I think, with any animal, but particularly with dogs. As we said at the top of this conversation, human beings' relationship with dogs is, tens of thousands of years old.
Yeah.
So
with the actual domestication.
Yes. Because they were wolves, obviously, prior.
Precisely. Yeah. It is pretty cool, and you see how, all those, the different ways in which we use dogs in society. It's really, really interesting.
It is interesting.
Like very, very brave animal. I know they're trained and whatever else, and yet, I've seen things like in the US where like police dogs have been given a rank, for example, because they like protected their owner or a member of the public, or their handler, or a member of the public, and they've received a proper funeral, and it's like, so it's anthropomorphizing again.
Yeah.
And it's because maybe they have such a broad role in society. They're not just domestic animals.
No.
I'm not aware of many like cats that are used in many different settings like that. And there absolutely could be. I'm not aware of like tortoises.
Well, there aren't sniffer cats or, protection tortoises. They don't move very fast.
Guide tortoises.
Oh, bless.
Dear. I remember somebody saying many years ago, how do blind dogs read? Which I thought was quite amusing. It's like they don't. They can see. They're guide dogs.
For the blind.
For the blind.
They're not blind themselves. That would literally be the blind leading the blind.
Oh my goodness. So, my cable was a bit stuck there, and it's because it was Nigel's face was lying on it. Amazing.
Aww.
So yeah, I'm curious about that though. I'm curious about that. So we have carrier pigeons.
Mm-hmm.
So they've been trained for a particular function. Okay, not really used these days. Or there's
we've got email.
Emails.
We've got WhatsApp, haven't we?
Yeah, I got WhatsApp. Yeah. And the postman. Thank you, post person.
Thank you, post people.
Which doesn't mean past.
No,
we're not like after you.
It's not like postscript. Post. Oh God.
Anyway, yes. I'm curious about that, why, like, what other animals are used that extensively?
That's a good question. Frogs.
Guide frogs.
Guide frogs for the blind. Yeah, there's a reason why man domesticated the wolf.
100%.
Or people domesticated the wolf. And there's a reason why that's kept going for many thousands of years. And that's because, well, their versatility. They help. I think primarily one of the big ones is their help with hunting, honestly. Back in the hunting and gathering days of yonder and yore. And our mum's dog, I was thinking it's mainly hunting, but actually he likes gathering blackberries. He munches them off. He does then eat them. He doesn't put them in the basket for everyone else, rude. But
so it's interesting because this gradual domestication occurred over 20,000 years ago, and interestingly is believed to have been a bit of a mutual process.
Right.
Mutual process. Interesting. One, because of a natural social structure. So humans are meant to be together.
Mm-hmm.
And dogs, obviously, are pack animals. they were useful for early humans to help, as you said, with hunting and protection and as sentinels and stuff like that. And being very adaptable because they're intelligent when trained, on a scale.
Can't read. Whatever.
Able to read cues from humans. And, this sort of stuff is pretty powerful. And the fact, you could understand why this happened mutually.
Yes.
There's a benefit, like you said at the beginning, dog being vulnerable. Well, they're not with a pack, then if I'm with another group, I will be safer.
Mm.
And then this natural sort of partnership gradually evolving. And it's just interesting that.
And then I'm thinking, it's in the arts, it's in our culture. There's some incredible books written. There's a book in particular I wanted to mention. It's called The Call of the Wild by Jack London, and it's written from the point of view of this dog, and it's absolutely incredible. And this dog and it's not a kid's book, it's a full-on...
Mm-hmm.
I mean, having said that, I did read it to Felix when he was younger, but the point is, this dog works and it pulls these sleds in the northern parts of the US back in the day, and and then there's some wolves, and it is is he going to be with the people or is he going to go with the wild? And so it's that tension for this animal who's skirting both, and he gets treated very poorly by people, some people, not all, and so it's in film, it's in literature, it's in it's because why are we doing that? Well, because it's a core part of our experience as human beings.
It's interesting.
Yeah, it goes back a long way.
And it's very often the case where people are more upset in films, I'll say, when the dog or the animal dies versus when a person, a character dies. So, like, the film that popped into my head was Turner and Hooch.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's War Horse as well.
Mm.
All those horses in... You see, that's an interesting one, right? Okay, so horses, they're too big, I suppose, to be in a domestic abode
That's
of some
right.
kind, a basic shelter to where we are these days. A horse is just too big.
Yeah.
And there is a lot of similarity, I think.
Yes.
In terms of that bond, that relationship.
Well, a good friend of mine she's a very experienced horsewoman. She used to be a professional show jumper, and she says that in order to be effective on a horse, you have to be fully present and clear your mind. The very second you feel anxiety, the horse has picked up on it. Nerves, whatever. You have to be still and calm and present. And then we know this other place and there are lots of these therapy horses, and the experience of going in with the horses, and then the horses sense this team or group of people or whatever, and they give to those people what they need. That isn't something that's necessarily logically explainable.
Yes.
And it really, so dogs and horses, it definitely happens.
Yeah, 100%. And I've even seen examples where, because dogs go into hospitals and things to be with the sick and so on, and I've seen examples where horses have been allowed in.
Really?
Yeah, to certain, but they might have to move the patient somewhere that it's not needed to be too sterile or whatever else. And these are proper therapy horses, and they gently rest their head so that the patient can touch them. And it's the same with dogs. I would love Roscoe to be a therapy dog, and obviously there need to be quite stringent requirements about that.
Yeah.
And a lot of it is about temperament. So, they need to be very calm and relaxed, and Roscoe is a lot of the time, and he's also stimulated quite a lot by going out on a walk. It's like his just favourite thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
Or like when he sees someone he knows, he gets very, very excited. So that would need to be very controllable. When I'm out on a walk and a kid wants to come and say hello, or anybody, he's very, very good. He doesn't fuss in any way. So I did look up the requirements for a therapy dog. I'm just not sure he'd quite make it at the moment. And that might change as he gets a little bit older.
Well, he's only young. And I think that the other thing that's interesting is when a dog, and obviously there are occasionally reports in the news of a dog being very violent. And there are certain breeds that certainly in the UK are banned, or that you have to have muzzled in public.
Yeah.
And, and I just... And that's right, and that absolutely needs to happen, these horrific attacks of these dogs. And when that happens, I do wonder, was that animal born a vicious killing machine, or has it been created by its experiences? Now, I'm not defending the animal. If it does that, then obviously there are sanctions and consequences, and that's right. But when a dog is badly behaved, stepping it back from it being a vicious thing, when it's badly behaved, people blame the dog. It's actually often 9 times out of 10 to do with the choices that people are making.
There's that TV programme, and by the way, they're not sponsoring us, and you're welcome to if you like, called Dogs Behaving Badly. And there's this guy called Graham.
I know him.
Yeah. Who's like a dog whisperer, sort of geezer. And there's quite a few of these people around. And Dogs Behaving Badly, it's interesting because you see the behaviour of the dog and you're going, wow, like, what can you do about that? It just seems so mad. Like there was one dog would not go upstairs. Just wouldn't. And... there was another one that was attacking members of the family as they were trying to come in the door. I mean, all sorts of extreme kind of behaviours. And you're like, flipping heck, or you couldn't take the dog for a walk because it wanted to attack everything. And
God,
you're like, what do you do?
Yeah.
And it was fascinating to see time and time again how he deals with it. And as you've just alluded, it is almost exclusively nothing to do with the dog. Almost exclusively.
Yeah.
And... I think that's something that's quite important in terms of, being a responsible owner.
Yeah.
Like if you want to own a breed that is restricted or whatever the word is, then take it out and have it muzzled and, be prepared for people to feel nervous around it because they know that dog... not that animal, that breed is, dangerous or whatever. Yeah, that's cool. And just being a responsible owner, you're making sure your dog is under control, you are under control with your animal at all times and so on. There's a lot.
Yeah, definitely. So there's a lot of accountability for the people.
Yeah.
And all that in COVID, lots of people got dogs, which was a beautiful thing. And then some people had to go back to work. And
yes.
You've seen the number of dogs needing to be rehomed going up and, all of that good stuff. And I just think, it's a beautiful experience to get a dog from a puppy, wherever you get that dog from. And it's also really nice to offer a dog a loving home for however long. This dear friend of mine, she tells a story of her mum. They used to live in Manchester when she was a kid, and they were going somewhere to her, I don't know, ballet lesson or something. And they saw this dog, scruffy, thin dog, trotting after these people, some group of people. And they went into this house and slammed the door shut, leaving the dog outside. And it just sat there and it waited, and it was unkempt, scruffy, thin. So her mum knocked on the door. She didn't know this. She knocked on the door and she said, "Oh my goodness, I'm so sorry to bother you, but this dog reminds me of my sister. And she made up this story, tugging on the heartstrings, etc. And she said, look, if you ever think of selling the dog, I would give you £200 for the dog. And they went, sold, boom. And she went to the cash point, got the money out, and they gave her the dog. Within 6 months, the dog was dead because it was riddled with cancer. But that's not the point of the story. The point is, for the last 6 months of its life, it was absolutely having the best time.
Yeah. Bloody love dogs.
More dogs, please.
More dogs, please.
Now, having broken the seal and got a second dog, it's no more work than one.
It's like children.
Is it though?
Well, big shock getting the first one.
I've only got one.
The second one, you're like, "Ooh, don't know how I'm going to do this." By number 3, they just sort of start slotting in.
It's interesting because Felix, my son, he said when we got Diz, he said that he was worried about Nigel. How would Nigel feel? And, I said, yes, we do need to pay attention to that. It's tricky. How would you feel if you got a sibling that you didn't ask for or want? And they just turned up and started touching all of your stuff and taking attention away from you. And he just said to me, he said, actually, I think I'd really like it. Because he wants a sibling, and that ship has very much sailed in all regards. And I did say to him, you're going to have to settle for having more dogs because you're not going to get a sibling, but more dogs is a possibility. So it feels, it's not the same as having a sibling, but it's okay. It's a pretty good substitute.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Noah, goodness.
You're welcome, Noah. And it's that time of day when I like to say,
bonjour.
Now, I don't know about you, dear listener, if you have a dog, but when it's that time when their stomachs are telling them.
Oh, I see.
Then, before all hell breaks loose.
What, for DINNER?
Yes.
Right.
DINNER, not WALK.
No.
Because that's done.
Yeah.
It's DINNER.
Roger.
So my lot are going to start creating.
You see, now that's interesting because you've got a Labrador and a Pomeranian.
Boston Terrier mixture.
Yeah, right. A bossy pommy.
I don't know what that's called. It's
a posse bomb.
Yeah.
You've got a posse bomb and a Labrador. I've got a double doodle, which is half a Labradoodle, half a golden doodle. So he's got a lot of poodle in him, and he's really not fussed by food. He's not food motivated at all.
My two really are.
So sometimes it's a job to get him to eat.
I think
most of the time
if we get all 3 of them eating together, he'll eat it because of the competition.
Might do. You still haven't finished his breakfast. It's like flipping heck, Roscoe.
So basically, we're off to feed the dags.
Oh my God. It is going to be bedlam because Nige does love to inhale.
But yeah, bless him. He's got a slow eating bowl these days.
Amazing. I could do with one then.
I didn't bring it with me though.
Okay, that's no good. Well, this lovely. I've actually learnt quite a lot about dogs as well, and
Samesies.
Just thinking about how much we use dogs in our society in many different ways,
All
for
sorts.
utility, for service, for companionship, for all. It's like, okay, no wonder this happened mutually.
Yeah.
No wonder.
No
Makes
wonder.
all the sense in the world.
A match made in heaven.
Yeah. Awesome.
Amazing.
Right. We're going to go off and do some paw patrolling.
Dinner.
And there we go. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Pure Spring Thoughts.